Couples, when asked what it means to have a good marriage, usually say something like, "You have to work at it." Well, that is certainly true. But what do you work at? And how do you work at it?
Engaged Encounter is an opportunity for you and your fiancé to get together and really talk about a lot of issues that you need to discuss.
Engaged Encounter is a weekend-long experience that I believe every engaged couple should go through, or newlywed couple. It was a wonderful experience for Rob and myself, a growing time where we learned more about each other in one weekend than I would have ever believed possible.
It sounded like a good weekend just to be away together and kind of concentrate on us for a change instead of everything else going on around us.
And it was a great weekend for us just to get away from it all and really start focusing on one another and not a lot of the other distractions that we had.
It was a time that we had together and we could sit down and talk and get back to the real reason why we were getting married, other than putting on this big produced wedding.
You meet other couples, but it's not really about spending time with other engaged couples. I could probably tell you one or two couples that run our weekend, because it's really a focused time on you and your future spouse, on your fiance. A time for you guys to really learn a lot about yourself and a lot about each other.
They gave scenarios, the team leaders did, and then you had your time alone to sit and write to your spouse or either your fiance. It was wonderful because you had to really put some thought into what you wanted to say to each other, but you weren't talking, you were writing back and forth to each other, and that was really sort of romantic in a way, but you were able to really express your feelings back and forth. You weren't called upon to say anything out in the open. Nobody called you by name and asked you to talk in front of a group. It was very relaxed and everything was focused on you as a couple.
There's such a misconception of marriage out there, and it's not a happily ever after kind of life all the time. It's a day in, day out things. And so a thing like Engaged Encounter really helps you understand that this is a commitment and this is a decision, not just a feeling that you want to do or act upon, but this is a decision to spend the rest of your life with someone. And when you do those kind of things, when you make that decision, you need to be prepared for all of the consequences, the good and the bad. And Engaged Encounter really brings those things to the forefront so that it's not necessarily a surprise one day, and you might even work out some problems before they ever come up.
And we got there and realized we hadn't even scratched the surface of all the questions that we needed to ask each other and all the things that we would have to work through that weekend.
You have to put forth a little bit of effort, and but the benefits you gain in return are just substantial.
It's a time where you can not only learn so much about yourself, but also about your fiance, about what marriage is, what marriage can be, and what marriage should be.
Marriage is a huge commitment and a lifelong commitment, and they really help you think through this commitment. And there were couples that that go to these things that aren't ready to get married and have different things that they need to work through. And I would say that these weekends, this Engaged Encounter weekend, is very vital to any couple, to make sure that you're ready for marriage, to make sure that you're ready for this commitment.
So it really forced us to look at these things and say, how are you going to deal with this? How are you prepared to deal with this? And what are you ready to do? So that was one of the most valuable things, was that we were ready to talk about things and be very open with one another.
I felt like it was a worthwhile weekend, not only to us, but our marriage, our relationship, to each other, to God. It was very beneficial.
There is a clergy couple there to help you with any issues that come up, and they kind of orchestrate the weekend. So not only did I grow in my relationship with my wife to be, but I also certainly grew in my relationship with Christ.
I believe it's really necessary to work through a lot of these questions about your faith, the questions about finances, questions about family, about how you handle your money, how you handle grief. There's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself, and I think an engaged couple has no idea, because this is all uncharted territory. I don't think they have any idea what kind of questions they need to ask themselves. But these 3 mentor couples that were there have already been married for a while and know what it is that you need to talk about and work through.
You can only gain the benefits from the weekend. There's no way to lose when you go.
If I were talking to someone thinking about going on a weekend, I would definitely tell them that they owe it to themselves and they owe it to one another.
Our Engaged Encounter weekends are presented within the framework, principles, and beliefs of the United Methodist Church. However, engaged and newly married couples are welcome regardless of their religious affiliations. Even though Engaged Encounter is not intended to be a religious retreat or conversion experience, there is often a renewal or strengthening of the religious bond between the couple.